This is episode 13. I'm Rabbi Leroy Sinai, based here in Israel. But before we dive into the title of this podcast episode and the content of it, just want to wish everyone a Tu B'Shvat Sameach, a happy Tu B'Shvat. This is the new year of the trees here in Israel. It is a holiday that we celebrate on the 15th day of this month of Shvat. And it marks the season when the earliest blooming trees, often the almond tree, the shkedia, in Israel emerge from winter, serving as a day for environmental awareness, tree planting, eating fruits, and doing some reflection. And I do have to say that the weather is fitting to this emergence from winter. It is a beautiful day, just about 22, 23 degrees Celsius, 72 or so or more degrees Fahrenheit. I'm wearing short sleeves and it's a beautiful sunny day out of my window here. So want to share some light and warmth with you all out there, and wishing everyone once again a Tu B'Shvat Sameach, happy Tu B'Shvat. Now into the episode. The title of this episode is The Resilience Paradox. What Israeli happiness teaches about building hope, not just in Israel, but anywhere, any place in the world. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to air raid sirens, right? You grab your family, your dog perhaps, or any other pet, and you rush to your bomb shelter, your safe room, something that has become quite routine, almost familiar here at least in Israel. And the next morning, you check the news to see where the missiles landed, what was the damage done, and then you see something else, a report that your country, namely here in Israel, ranks 8th in the world for happiness and life satisfaction. That ranking often fluctuates between, I've seen it at 5 or more. And it's not an experiment. This thought experience is not an experiment. This is actually Israel in 2025, 2026. Welcome back to the Anchors of Hope. This is the episode that we're going to explore, which paradoxes this fascinating understanding, this study of human resilience. How does a nation under constant threat not just survive, but thrive? And more importantly, what can we learn from this that applies wherever you live, whether it's in Tel Aviv or Toledo or Jerusalem or Jacksonville, and so on and so forth? Because this isn't just about Israel. This is about the architecture of hope itself, and how you can build it starting right now. So let's start with the facts. 2025 World Happiness Report ranks Israel 8th globally in life satisfaction. Think about that, 8th. Ahead of the United States, which ranks 23rd. This is a country that's been at war for 2 years plus, where citizens regularly experience rocket attacks, where military service is mandatory, where existential threats are part of the daily conversation. Now, before October 7th, Israeli youth, young people, ranked 2nd in the world for life satisfaction. Again, despite everything. This is prior to October 7th. And so now you might think this is some statistical noise or curated information, an anomaly, but researchers have been studying this phenomenon for years, and they have found that it is obviously remarkable. Israel ranks 7th globally in the number of social connections, and 1st in the world in the quality of those connections. The key question we have to be asking ourselves when asked in surveys, when you are in distress, this is a question I am quoting, when you are in distress, do you have someone to turn to? Israelis overwhelmingly answer yes. That's not sentiment, that's infrastructure, that's real, that's your day-to-day. That's the foundation of what we are going to explore in this episode. So here's our core question for today. Is this resilience by choice or by necessity? And the answer, which might surprise you, is both and neither. So I'm going to explain. What researchers have discovered is that Israeli resilience isn't just about being tougher or having thicker skin. It's about 3 specific learnable capacities. We're going to break them down right here. Here is something that should change how you think about happiness. Research shows that expecting kindness from others is a better predictor of happiness than GDP or personal safety, for that matter. Yes, not having more money, not being safer, but expecting that people around you will show up for you. In Israel, this plays out in very concrete ways. When an air raid siren sounds, the neighbors check on the elderly residents. When communities are impacted, volunteers mobilize immediately, not eventually, but immediately. The fabric of the Israeli society strengthens, actually, it strengthens in response to challenges and threats rather than deteriorates. Professor Sonia Lyubomirsky at UC Riverside spent decades studying this phenomenon. Her research shows that happy people have stronger relationships, and this becomes a critical asset for coping with adversity, with challenges. They might be very unhappy, perhaps during trauma, but they bounce back sooner. And so we ask ourselves, or you should be asking yourself right now, if something difficult happened tomorrow, do I have 3 people or a set of people, or am I part of a community that I can genuinely turn to? I'm not talking about your professional network. I'm not talking about a transactional relationship. I'm talking about genuinely. If your answer is no, or if you hesitated, that's not tomorrow's work. That's what you need to be doing right now. Build a relational infrastructure before you might need it. There's this Hebrew phrase that captures this perfectly when they say, Gam zu letova. Gam zu letova, this too is for the good. So now before you dismiss this as some sort of toxic positivity, understand that it's actually what it means. And the Talmud, Jewish case law, if you will, tells the story of a Rabbi Nachum Ish Gamzu, from whom this phrase originates. No matter what difficulties befell him, he would respond with the phrase, Gamzu letova. But here's the key. It's not about pretending everything is fine. We're not living in La La Land. It's about the unwavering faith that everything has its purpose, even if we cannot immediately see it nor understand it. Research backs this up. Professor Meital Buchwald's work shows that countries facing economic or security challenges often rank high in happiness when they have strong cultural narratives of purpose and resilience, meaning making acts as a buffer against adversity, having purpose in your day-to-day, whether through family, community, national service, or simply the belief that their presence matters, that your life matters. Israelis cultivate a sense that individual actions are woven into something larger, something bigger than ourselves. It's not passive optimism, it is active hope. So when facing difficulty, shift your internal question from, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me, or what am I supposed to learn from this, or who am I becoming as a result of this experience? It's not about denial. It's about transformation from victim to student, to learning, to understanding, to zooming out and understanding the situation that is taking place before you. The next piece is that happier people don't anchor their identity in comparison with others. They use internal standards, measuring themselves against their own values, not someone else's social media feed or actions or way of life. We measure ourselves to ourselves. We should be attempting to become the best version of ourselves. In a country that often feels like a global pariah, especially if you're watching the news these days, this internal orientation may be more necessity than virtue, but it works. When your sense of worth comes from living according to your values rather than some sort of external validation, you become dramatically uber resilient. Defining success by our own growth metrics, not by a friend's promotion or by a neighbor's vacation. We should be asking ourselves, am I more patient than I was last year? Am I contributing more meaningfully? Am I living according to my stated values? This approach and understanding and perspective helps to create a resilience because your worth, my worth, our worth isn't dependent on circumstances outside of our control. We choose, we have choice, we make decisions. So I want to turn to the original question that I pose is about Israeli resilience. Is it by choice or by necessity? So as I said, the research shows that it's both. And that's the point. The book is Resilience, is Resilience, puts it like this. Imbued in Israel's DNA is the understanding that survival isn't optional, it's a necessity. Israelis carry on with their daily lives not just when things are calm, but when rockets are launched, when sirens are heard, during official conflicts and waves of terrorism. May we know more of that. And we don't just survive, we thrive. But here's the transformation. What begins as necessity actually becomes a sense of sort of a mastery. It becomes a part and parcel of your day-to-day. And we learn about this in the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, which teaches Tov Shem Mishemen Tov. Good name, a good name is better than fine oil. The reputation, the character, the resilience. These are built over time through consistent response to challenge. Decades of exposure to wars and political unrest have created a population that doesn't just cope with stress. Rather, this is a population, a society that has developed systems, cultural practices, communal structures that transform adversity into opportunity for growth. Research shows that during COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent conflicts found that hope emerged as a significant variable associated with societal resilience, not wishful thinking. Hope is a psychological asset that motivates individuals and communities to persist through adversity. So I want to bring this home and maybe talk a bit about what we can actually do about it. Maybe a framework that we can implement for ourselves. How about this? Every morning, name one thing that you can influence today. What can you make a decision about? Not control, but influence, impact. Because control is an illusion. It's something that we don't always have control over. But influence is real. Maybe it's having a patient conversation with your son, your daughter, with your loved one, with your partner. Maybe it's responding to a colleague's email with genuine thoughtfulness instead of transactional efficiency. How about taking this week to reach out to someone in your network and genuinely check in with them? Not a transactional conversation, but hey, how are you doing today? What's going on by you? And having approaches to our relationships in our day-to-day that are actually authentic and genuine. So I want to kind of wrap this up and talk a bit about what I'm trying to maybe bring out in this episode and learn with you. That Israeli resilience isn't about being tougher or having thicker skin. It's about building specific capacities, relational architecture, meaning-making frameworks, internal measurement standards that we measure ourselves up against. And the research, as I shared, is clear. It's not just about happiness being what happens to us, but how we interpret happiness. And resilience isn't something that we're born with. It's something that you systematically construct through daily choices and practices. The paradox that I had opened with about the air raid sirens and happiness rankings isn't actually a paradox at all. It's proof that resilience is relational, built through consistent investment in relationships, anchored in meaning and purpose that transcends the circumstances that stand before you, and measured by your own growth rather than some sort of external validation. You don't need to live in Israel to practice this. All you need to do is decide that starting today, tomorrow, this week, you will build these capacities in whatever sort of context that you inhabit, that you live in. And that's active hope, not waiting for circumstances to change, but choosing to construct an infrastructure of resilience before a crisis demands it. So I want to thank you all for joining me on this episode 13. Thank you for sharing your input, your thoughts about the episodes. Thank you for sharing these episodes with your circles of friends, your networks, your family. And till next time, I want to thank you for joining me, and let's anchor hope together into the future, because better days aren't coming, better days are here. And let's remember, Am Yisrael Chai, it's not just a slogan, it's a way of life. Till next time, everyone, love and light from Israel.